regular split, but now it is 7.7. It is playoff, and here and now, IMA have got to make a stand. It is set point for their playoff lives as they ban away Galio, Jace, and Rengar. Finally going to see something new from Doinby, as that is a Zillion, Nautilus, and Kog'Maw ban. And immediately, IMA prioritize getting Doinby off that Karma. He is so good on that champion.
Yeah, however, they prioritize getting the Karma. It's also taking it, not just taking it away, but now they have to play it, right?
Yeah.
So what was usually a ban has now become a Jace ban. Where do they want to send the Karma? Because the Lulu's no longer a pick for them. It's no longer a point of contention. QG still have an abundance of mid lane champions that they can pick, and even they can look towards the Lulu if they want themselves. What I would expect here is that I may still go for the Lulu, and that they actually just put the Karma mid lane anyway and say, Athena, tough luck. You're now playing this champion. We want the best bottom lane that we can actually get for ourselves.
Yeah, we'll see if that's what they go for, as now Ashe is locked in for Jin Zhao. So far, we've seen 3 games of Karma from Road and 2 games of Karma from Athena, so IMA is one of the teams that will flex it. But like you said, that Lulu could still be an option, though Kled will make it through the ban phase this time, and IMA, they're giving it a good long think.
Definitely something worth considering for them. Again, the Kled giving this engage tool for IMA, where a flank isn't required. We have seen time and again, IMA on the back foot, inside their base, nothing left to lose, and they just go. And it always works for no particular reason. It shouldn't, but I think it's just because teams don't expect it. Their flank wards are always incredible.
That means we're now going to see Qiao Gu pick away that Lulu from Road. So still a bit of flexibility towards where that Karma could go, but just further limiting the champion pool for the new support of IMA.
And now we have the expectation of the Lucian being seen, I would imagine, with the Lulu. So we look towards IMA in their ban phase and say, what are they going to target? Because Doinby still has all the champions in the world. He is renowned on that champion that just got taken off him, as well as the Victor. He can always look towards that.
He's got tons of picks. We're seeing Qiao Gu with a very clear-cut strategy in answer, though. Graves banned away from Ben 4. Gragas picked for Kabe. Lee Sin picked even before that. They are targeting Ben 4, and they are hitting him hard.
Absolutely are, and we have to wonder where he's going to go. With all of these champions taken away from him, what will he default to?
It is a tough answer, but now we're going to see the final ban away. Do they continue trying to limit Doinby's pool, or do they look instead for the AD carry? And yeah, they're going to ban away Doinby's Victor. So counter pick for Doinby or counter pick for Alone?
Maybe. I know that Athena might default to something like the Orianna either way. He's also a fantastic assassin player. Now we have to highlight what Doinby's going to go for. You would expect the counter pick on red side, given that they've already got their top laners set up in Kabe. They don't need to hide their AD carry. They know what the 2v2 lane is going to be. So they can go as they'd like towards it. Karma, Victor, LeBlanc, all taken from Doinby though.
Such a very large pool now being stricken away from him. And Ezreal is locked in for Alone. So that's Ezreal Lulu down there for Alone and Deceit. Much safer. Able to put out a lot of harass if they're able to find themselves in an advantage. If this Taliyah is locked in, that means Road is taking Taliyah, and Ben 4 is the final pick for IMA. Yep, there's the Taliyah.
Now I have the feeling that it'll be something like a Talon in the middle lane for Doinby. Again, he's not the only assassin player in the mix here, Athena. There are plenty of assassins. Remember Vladimir, honestly, as well. Just a champion that needs to be thought about. Taliyah does quite well into the Vladimir, but if the Vladimir ever gets on top of you, you're going to be in a spot of trouble.
Alrighty, here comes the setup. Ivern for Ben 4, the highlight hunter, taking a much different pace champion. This is actually the very first time we've seen him take Ivern in the LPL, and Ryze is going to be the pickup from Doinby to answer.
A big fan of the Ryze pick, honestly, above all else. Like we mentioned the Vladimir, sure, that's going to be an option, but the Ryze stands out to me as being able to rotate around the map, match something that a Taliyah can do. And so the mid lane feels like their priorities is leaving the middle lane and helping the rest of the map. But then you've got an Ivern who wants to invade and perhaps not be the playmaker, so to speak, but set people up for success and then let them knock it down a little bit better. Whereas Klid on his Lee Sin this time. It's not Ben 4. Klid is the more refined, experienced, and calm, measured version of Ben 4.
Yes.
We already called him at the start of the split good Ben 4.
He's Clid with a couple extra years of experience under his belt, so hopefully we'll get a chance to see him exercise that. You can see the coaches shake hands in what could be match point with these compositions locked in. Qiao Gu, a very strong pick and ban phase to limit Aime's sort of options here. And we said they have to show us something new. Looks like they're doing that. Ben 4 on that Ivern. This is the first time we've seen him on Ivern in 2017. Hopefully he can show us that he can compete with it.
And there isn't any crazy synergy to be seen with Ivern and the rest of the team composition that they've actually put together. There's no Caitlyn's, there's no Jace that's going to be able to siege. There is an Ashe who is quite good at pushing you down under turrets, and Talia who can sit in the brush and actually throw out the shove and try and knock you around when you can't see her. That's going to be really important if it connects, but really it's about that objective control or that setting up for team fighting that's going to be important about this Ivern. Right now when he's staring down the barrel of the gun of QG at match point.
Yeah.
Ben 4 brings out a champion we haven't seen from him. That is very risky.
It's time to see if this is in fact the secret strategy that I may have been planning for, or if it is something a little bit desperate from them. And we know that I may thrive on desperation. But with our compositions all set, we are now loading on to the Rift for what very well could be match point. Game number 4. Qiao Gu lead the series 2-1. And with this setup, they look prepared to close out the series.
We definitely do. Of course, you can see it's going to be the Cloud Drake. First and foremost, something that we're seeing a fair bit in this series, unfortunately. But it's also going to be super valuable. Again, we highlighted all of the rotation map movements available for both of these teams, Talia and Ryze in the middle lane. Ivern always wants to run quickly.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on Ben 4's pathing on that Ivern as Qiao Gu again going for a delayed invade. They're actually bringing the whole crew down here, everyone except for Kabe. Oh, and they found their way into the red buff.
It looks like there's a possibility here.
Oh, but it's 5 members of Aime.
You cooked it.
Yeah, they showed themselves way too early. They're going to have to take the long way out. And now Clid, Deceit, Flash. Root Caller misses, but they managed to get the Soul Flare. Sonic Wave turns onto Amazing J. Deceit goes down. First blood, Amazing J.
QG found themselves potentially with the jump. And then the Ezreal reveals himself. And just like that, they're the ones that get jumped on. This does mean that Amazing J goes back, gets a longsword, teleports to lane. He's going to be up against Kabe, who will have to bear the brunt of the Fed Clid.
Oh, yeah. And meanwhile, that was Heal used by Doinby, Flash and Ignite used by Deceit. Taking a look, Flash used by Ben 4 to try to get that Root Collar, which missed, Teleport from Amazing J to collapse, and Ignite from Road. So all in all, Summoner spells rather balanced, but that means that now alone.
Not balanced bottom.
He's actually sitting down there alone.
Yeah, he's by himself. Deceit, no summoners on Lulu means that they auto lose this lane now. They just want to get pushed in as quick as possible, make this as painless as they can afford, because realistically, this 2v2 entirely Aime favored.
Yeah. And this game, completely different. I mean, we mentioned it at the beginning of at the end of game number 2, excuse me. It seems like the games are decided by that first kill, whoever manages to get that first early advantage. Right now it's Aime. They've got that first blood very early on.
Yeah, so we actually have to look at QG and see how they change things up this time around. There's an opportunity for both junglers without vision actually there at all to make a play. You would expect that QG would look towards their bottom lane, but I think they're too far behind to actually even consider that play, as he is clearing an explosive play. Very clever stuff from Ben 4. And by their bottom lane losing too much, QG, they actually can't afford to gank it.
Yeah. Despite the fact that the Ivern is wandering around without a flash inside of the very unsafe river. The pressure from Jinzhao and Road is keeping a Loner Deceit under this tier 1 turret. Recall from Doinby and Clid. Tier picked up and Tracker's Knife from Clid. So they are focusing on vision, even a control ward from Doinby. Whereas Athena with a quick level advantage is going to go for boost.
And this is so frustrating to watch though. Stuck under the turret against this team of an Ashe and a Karma. They're so good at harassing you under that turret. Clid being here will help, but it's pretty obvious that Aime are aware because they stop harassing you under the turret.
Yeah. Oh man, Alone misses a whole lot of minions. That first wave crashes and he's down 10 CS very early on. It's an uphill fight to get himself back into this. Luckily though, he is an Ezreal. He's got time. And we can see how he does do damage when he's got Lulu paired with him.
Yeah, and there's still good poke out of them. It's just about resetting the lane. It might be an earlier recall perhaps recall as you have enough for the tier, you're going to be behind a fair bit in CS. That is now an expectation that we have moving into this laning phase. It's about what you can do to try and catch it up or keep it at that deficit. Don't make the deficit grow any further. Damage control and hope that the rest of your map's able to get something done successfully. And right now, it's the Lee Sin, perhaps the Rise, or go forwards.
Alone, Arcane shifts forwards, and that's Ignite from Deceit onto Road. They push him back, and Alone eats a Polymorph, but that's another favorable trade from Aimee.
Good Polymorph, actually. Means that Alone doesn't have to heal, but he has to go back to base. And that was, honestly, the opposite of what we suggested QG did. And surprisingly, they lose the trade. Who'd have thought? So now they have to reset, and that deficit grows.
Yeah.
Instead of being equalized.
And you can even see how Alone is building Longsword and then a refillable afterwards because he knows he's going to be back to base a lot. Qiao is already doing huge damage to this bottom tier 1. It's down to a quarter of its health before the 6-minute mark. It's supposed to be defended right now. It's supposed to take reduced damage, but the fact that they're getting so many waves in time and time again.
And this is what happens when you lose 2 summoner spells and die at level 1, unfortunately. It's not just a joke when we say that level 1 has dictated the pace of all of these games. QG, definitely not at their pace right now. This bottom turret will die very quickly. A stiff breeze is going to knock it down right now, and Ivern's going to ensure that he's here for that.
Yeah, he's hanging out on the side. Clid shows up as well. Alone again, goes forward. Sonic Wave forces the flash out of Qiao. He turns his eyes towards Road, though they do still have Ben 4 waiting in the river. They're at such low health, and now they see him. Oh no, the ward expired.
Clid's just helping them push the wave. They're probably going to get another recall in. They have to back away. But it's quite alright. This is a good decision from Clid if he wants to prolong the turret's duration in this bottom lane. It's a bit safer for Alone and Deceit. But Clid now has to stay down here and babysit them if he wants them to be okay at all. At this stage, what that does is actually just keep the bottom lane of Aimee bottom instead of actually letting them go top and do the same thing again.
Yeah.
Which is where things open up poorly.
And now you can see how Qiao are trying to respond to this as the remaining lanes from Kabe, Doinbi against Amazing J and Athena are all on their own because Clid is babysitting down there. Slight CS advantage for Amazing J, not to mention that first blood. He's not opening up anything very early on. He did just go for a longsword with that first recall. Clid and Deceit are making their way up there along with Alone. Another sort of interesting swap from Qiao. They're going to give up first brick right here and right now as they're spotted out.
100% about to give over first turret blood. Unfortunately for them, Amazing J saw them on a ward, so he just recalls, and he's now going bottom. He's acknowledged that exactly what the play is going to be here from the side of QG, and they're looking to counter it before it actually even happens. As tragically, QG watches their turret goes down, no trade in sight.
Yeah, you can even see the ping towards that bottom tier 2 from Aimee. They might even continue to push as there's nobody on this side of the map to answer. Kabe has teleport. Finally, he's making his way down to try to defend, but there is so much momentum for Aimee in this. 2,500 gold at the 7.5-minute mark. And they're actually going to try forcing a fight as they look to scare Qiao back. They've got tons of damage from Aimee. He manages to tag on. Athena follows up. And that's flash being used. Seismic shove, tosses Alone back in. He flashes back, but it is not enough. 2-0 Aimee.
Another big pick, honestly, to Aimee. And we're at 7 minutes in this game, and it feels like it's already over unless QG pull out a miracle. Kabe can defend 1v2 in the bottom lane, so that's quite all right. He will have to use his ultimate, evidently, but the turret will stay standing. But Aimee on the top side of the map, bring up Talia, and Ben 4, Amazing J, and Athena, as a trio, are just too strong because Alone is too weak, and so they die.
Yeah, that's now another death for the bottom lane of Qiao, as Kabe is trying to clear it out with his limited AoE, or at least that heavy cooldown on his AoE.
In saying that, Qiao's just gone attack speed through, so with his Berserker Greaves, he's not going to be able to do damage to the Gragas. Tubbies are a thing.
He's probably pretty thankful for that at the very least, as he's getting what seems to be Mercy CS. But this is a huge advantage for Aimee very early on. Now invading the blue buff. Kabe's there as Doinbi eats a big hit. Takes a few too many taggers. Manages to land a snare before Athena can line up the next shot.
Yeah, unfortunately, Athena was not straight with that second part, but also the heal was used by Doinbi to keep himself in this lane. So Has Biscuits. He's committed to the laning phase. May recall after the next wave if he wants to, but Blue Buff's the point of contention that you would expect they were going to look at. However, because QG can't look at it, I may have already taken it. 1 step ahead, now becomes 3 steps ahead. There's a candy awaiting Ben 4.
Yeah. Once he makes his way over to that side of the jungle, he can refresh his own blue buff. So I think that's blue on 1, 2, 3 members of Ime right now.
Yeah, it is.
As, ooh, they look for Athena. Good cleanse flash. Clid follows up. That's a kick, and under the turret, Clid will die. It is a 1-for-1 trade, but Qiao, they're on the board.
No, that's good. QG, take those trades. Make 100 1-for-1s happen, and then you've suddenly got gold on members on your team. They need that. And that is the saddest part about this game at the moment. Unfortunately for them, what should happen from Ime on the flip side is that they continue side laning, but they send the Ashe sooner or later to mid, or they send the team to where the Ashe is top. Throw the arrow, stun the target, get the turret. Rinse and repeat until the entire base of QG is dead, and say, we'll see you in game 5.
Yeah. Qiao have got to know that this is happening. They're defending top right now, and Jin Zhao at level 7 with that arrow ready. Finally level 6 from Alone. He was at a 2-level deficit, and without Flash, he's got to play so far back now that Road is showing up.
He will catch up in XP, of course, thanks
Yes.
to
XP
Rito games, giving them a function to do so. But he's too far behind in items. He's going to be too far behind in gold. You can already see the gold lead creeping out more and more for Ime. And it's also just the pressure, because that gold grows incredibly quickly when turrets start.
And trying to clear out these waves. Jin Zhao trading shots. Bilgewater Cutlass means he can heal himself up and afford to take these hits. Meanwhile, Cloud Dragon again for Ime. Not the most optimal of dragons, but just taking everything that they can to limit Qiao's options to get back into this game. Clid's actually sitting outside of vision right now. He's found Ben 4
He doesn't want that.
And turns around.
He definitely doesn't want that. Unfortunately, there's no kill threat against Ben 4, which is a sad thing to say given that he has no items in the way of being a tank. Just has an E.
Yeah, Clid perhaps looking for Athena as Ben 4 escorts Daisy
He
over the
actually
wall.
saved Daisy. That was the whole mission, to save Daisy. Clid was running at it angrily with Smite up. Damn Daisy.
I will take this gold. Look at all of the pings from Ime. They want to fight mid lane. Oh, the arrow. Almost catches Clid. It's a good read from Jin Zhao, but not enough.
That was about 7 pings a second.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. Unfortunately, the arrow doesn't connect, so all those pings are for nothing, but now they group mid. Ashe arrow down. I don't think they'll be able to do anything just yet, unfortunately, as a result of that. However, that's what we want to see from Ime. Throw the arrows off cooldown. Hit the target.
Yeah. The arrow that they were looking for, is they might be looking for Athena right here. Again, getting a good insect to knock him back, and Clid gets another kill. They've got the seat there as well, but that means Alone has got no one to help him defend that top tier 1 turret. He has not got his flash. He's not got his true shot barrage. Amazing J is coming in. Kabe looks to follow up shortly thereafter. Doinby eats a hit from the bear trap on the rope, and they actually complete the teleport. Qiao are trying to take this turret.
They're all in on a trade for turrets. They've already lost this by default because top's going to go down. Doinby, you need to stop tanking those turrets, champion.
Yeah, Alone is actually grouping up with the rest of his team, decides to give up on his namesake. And with Clid falling back and Doinby at low mana, you have to imagine that this is not going to be successful for them.
No, it's not. They get some damage. Athena's currently the only pain point that Ime are experiencing. And yes, Clid and Doinby are working together to take him down. They've now got a 2-in-1 Lee Sin, who is doing his part for the team. Unfortunately, the rest of it is suffering. As you can see, even Clid with the 2 kills is behind.
Yeah, down by 300 gold. Despite having died twice and being down a level, Athena's only 300 behind. In the top lane, 800 ahead, and in the bottom lane, that's 1,800 gold. That's a BF sword, boots, and a dagger.
At 13 minutes, he is 1,800 behind. That's the kind of lead that an AD carry like Jin Zhao will win you the game with.
Finished Blade of the Ruined King and Berserker Greaves. Taking a look at Alone, he's got a Vamp Scepter going for him, so that's nice.
You know what's nice? Athena has cleanse again. He may not die.
He does, yeah.
That's actually very nice.
Yes. But as you said, keep on loading Jin Zhao up, sticking those arrows into the chamber and pointing that gun towards the turret. Doinby's got his flash So too does Kabe, and with Deceit and Clid waiting in the wings, they're rather safe. They're buying time for Alone to farm in the top lane, but they're losing all of this pressure on the bottom side of the map.
I guess the craziest thing about this is a lot of the lead is actually still just on Jin Qiao. There is a lead everywhere, but most of it is on Jin Qiao. He's now in a side lane because he keeps pushing top wave, and there's no turret to get there. He's just catching the biggest stack of minions. So this is really greedy. Not a bad thing, but just greedy from IMA's AD carry in particular. Just means that after he pushes this wave in, he should recall, now group with the rest of the team. You would expect he wants to go mid lane, but this could also be a team-based decision where they need him side laning because the Taliyah doesn't want to split.
So no longer such a massive advantage for IMA, as Qiao have been able to slow things down just a little bit, at the very least in the mid lane. Doinby makes his way back in there, clears out that minion wave, as he's got his own Rod of Ages fully finished. And hopefully that will start putting in some numbers for him as they're trying to defend this turret. It's slowly being whittled down, however, as IMA just keep chipping away.
Just going to rinse and repeat. This is a very slow-paced game from IMA, considering the lead that they've had this whole time. Just playing their cards super cautiously, waiting for that one moment that feels right for them, I suppose. But the longer they do this, the more they rest on their advantage that their AD carry has. The more they get to the IMA mid-game. And that's not the position IMA ever wants to be in. There's a reason that I'm calling it an IMA mid-game.
Well, so far, they seem like they're set up to quickly pass through it. It's about 16 minutes right now. Clid is sneaking up through the brush, making his way towards Jin Qiao, and they've already got Alone on the side. Perhaps they can bait him forward.
If they kill Jin Qiao, they get the turret. But right now, he's freezing the wave.
Yeah, they're bringing Ben 4 up there as well. Alone will show himself. So too does Clid, so now Jin Qiao knows to clear this out, and he's already got his team on the way to support him. Meanwhile, that means mid is up to Doinby to defend.
It's pretty standard in the LPL to break freezes by diving somebody. So Ben 4 being nearby, or QG not knowing if someone's nearby, they err to the side of caution. However, Jin Qiao still has it frozen because he held 3 minions there, so it's up to him if he would like to push or keep it in that position. As it stands, such a big lead for the AD carry.
Yeah. We're still not seeing it converted quite into stats just yet. I mean, sure, he's finished the Blade of the Ruined King, and he's 54 CS ahead of Alone, but Alone is finishing off his own Blade of the Ruined King. He's got his tier stacking, and with Doinby continuing to hold down the fort in the mid lane against this 4-man pressure from Qiao. Oh, but now they've brought in Jin Qiao. Now it's 5 members of IMA.
You have to wonder how much money the Ashe has as well, but yes, Alone in this top wave. He understands that he needs to leave top sooner or later, but they could also get the turret up there, and so QG have to make a decision. Is it worth just having the Ezreal push top lane, maybe force a teleport out of Amazing J for the push, and then bring the Ezreal down and rotate, maybe get a numbers advantage? There is an idea behind keeping the Ezreal up there to force teleports, however, probably not going to be seen.
Yeah, that's a very long lane, and if Kled is able to find a good place to teleport to, Alone will be in trouble. He pushes the minion wave
Ashe
up
is mid.
and then decides to fall back. Yeah, Jin Qiao still hanging out mid. They don't quite have vision of Amazing J as he's cleared out that ward bottom, so they don't want to take any chances. And on this recall, hopefully we should see Alone finally finishing off his own Bork. Yep, there it is completed.
Okay. We're at a point now, Dom. Finally.
Yeah.
Finally, where I may have decided, after Jin Qiao probably recalls after this wave anyway, that the Ashe wants to go mid. The Taliyah wants to go to a side wave. It's taken a while, but we're here. And now we can finally see these opportunities for Taliyah to use the wall and actually block people off the middle lane turret, or to throw the arrow and then follow it up with Taliyah. I don't know why it took this long from IMA. I don't mind that it did. I understand what is on the line in this game. Again, it's a playoffs, and if they lose, they're eliminated. They don't want to take risks with a lead this large.
It's like the IKEA furniture scenario. Sometimes you just take all the pieces and you just build it together, but sometimes you've got to follow the instructions. Well, now they finally get the execution. They are putting this desk together and whittling down that mid-tier 1 even more. It's still standing, but that's one ultimate used. Kabe's looking for a flank.
He's definitely looking for that flank. May not actually successfully find themselves with one. But Amazing J reveals himself bottom, so there is that window of opportunity. However, IMA shouldn't actually stop this siege in the middle lane. I understand the Taliyah wall is missing, But they had vision. They understand that Deceit wants to go back to base. He has no wards. They have all of the tools, all of the makings. We're just waiting for them to knock it down.
Yeah, Jinjiao's got his arrow locked and loaded. Clid is clearing out blue buff. Spotted out by Ben 4. Here comes the minion wave. Arrow finds Deceit, Redemption, and he flashes back to keep himself alive. They are working on the turret, and finally they're going to clear it out, but Road will give up his life for it. Doinby flashes back and Alone is trying to retreat from this. Meanwhile, Kled has been stopped on the opposite side as they manage to get the kill onto Alone, and Klid and Kabe are able to kill Amazing J. It's a 1-for-2, evening it up in kills, but that big tier 1 has fallen.
Evening the kills is handy for QG. It's a nice to have. Remember that when they are this far behind, if they trade anything, you would still call it reasonably worthwhile. Opposed to trading nothing at all. It does mean that Amazing J, no teleport. Kabe has his. He can show up to the party. He can upset the advantage that they secured. Clit is still big, and they're giving Kabe resources. Doinby's doing his part. He's 1-0-2. They have strength. They just don't have the same strength that I may have. So they need to be the ones either starting the fights off or getting the picks before these trades happen, and then QG are within the realms of winning.
Well, that was the reactive trade in that most recent fight in which we saw Amazing J try to duel out Klid and Kabe unsuccessfully for him. And now with Alone catching more of these minions, we'll finally see the recall from Jinjiao. This man has a lot of gold. Is that going to be a Runan straight up?
Might be a Leandri's.
Oh, he actually stays in lane. Interesting. He still wants to catch another wave. Wait, Jinjiao?
Oh, wait. Oh, Jinjiao.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I saw Athena recalling, and I said Leandri's. I was so confused as to why you said an AD item. Anyway,
Yeah.
Jinjiao does have a lot of
He's
money.
got so much. And now that the mid-tier 1, the final tier 1 has finally fallen.
Should be Runans. Absolutely.
Yeah. He did stay for another, yeah, straight up Runan's Hurricane. And good guy AD carry, get some control wards. Take note, solo queue. Even ADs can put down vision.
Control wards win game. Vision wins games.
Yeah.
Most importantly.
Knowledge. And what to do with that knowledge.
And unfortunately, knowledge isn't power for QG in this case.
It also does not equal a garage full of Lamborghinis. But it certainly can if you manage to win the LPL playoffs. And right now, Qiao Gu are poised to try to take this series back. They find themselves at a deficit in this game, and it's Aime who are running the gambit and trying to put Qiao Gu even further behind. But we're seeing QG trade time and time again, and the later this game goes, the more volatile these fights will become.
And we're still at that point in the game where if Ryze or Lee Sin gets on top of Jinjiao, they lock him down, he will die. He does not have a QSS. He is relying on Road to keep him alive, but there's no redemption there just yet. So Ben 4 has a big responsibility also to be able to try and keep Jinjiao going.
We can see Aime setting up on that top side of the map. Jinjiao is currently holding out on the mid lane. He's got both summoners, so it feels rather safe pushing forward against Kabe. Like you said, there's no teleport from him. So QG are just falling back to their tier 2s, trying to get those critical items to close that stat gap between them. They're still 5,000 down, and now they've got the arrow back up. Jinjiao can just push forward.
Here they go.
Doinby is trying to get in from behind. He's the only one who's there, and it looks like they're going to split the fight. Doinby is way too far forward. He's knocked up. Cask is going to split the team, but without any follow-up, and a great wall. They've managed to tag Deceit as well. A huge turnaround from Aime. They're running into the river.
22 minutes straight to the Baron. They've got the vision set up. Clit is alive, and I don't think they want to actually do the Baron. Remember that you would have a higher priority of baiting it. However, Ivern, Blade of the Ruin King, Karma, Jinjiao's not going to die. They have committed to this because of the Ivern Brush.
Yeah, Glid gets a ward just over the side. Root Caller is going to miss. Athena is just firing these shots. Threaded volley after threaded volley with Road helping to zone him away. Baron is outside of vision, and Daisy's actually taking a lot of hurt from here. Sonic Wave as Amazing J waits it out. Kabe is so low. Daisy makes it over the wall. First hit, and Kabe drops it.
He can
Baron's
see the
down
health.
to 1,600. He can see it now. Goes in, looks for the steal, gets knocked to
But
the
he
face,
gets
stole
it!
it! He actually managed to steal it! Qiao Gu are not out of this yet!
That is horrendous from the side of Aime, to say the least, but Clit is a hero for QG. If Doinby kicks off a fight and Doinby dies, they can still work without their Rise. Now they are in the game still. They should not be, but they are.
Oh man, what a save from Alone. That was such a long Baron, too. I'm pretty sure that Baron was like a good 30 seconds or so.
The problem here is you can see the health of the Baron when Clit actually hits the next Q. He knows it's at 1900. I should have stopped. No one touch it, but they kept hitting it and gave this opportunity over to him. It's a 50-50 that because the jungler is still alive from the side of QG, you either have to play around the fact that he's Lee Sin, kill him when he dashes in at 1900 health, or you have to do something completely different, like all commit together to take it.
Whoa! Doinby is diving onto Athena without his team, but he's got plenty of damage. The wall is even run across the side as QG are actually forcing the top tier 1, finally breaking their way into this game. With 4 members, they're going to look for the top tier 2.
No, it's only the next minion wave is about to crash. Doinby has to stop tanking it. They're making desperate plays that are working because Athena's stuck in a side lane.
Yeah, and Jin Qiao is holding on to the mid lane as well. You can see Alone is holding on to it. The top tier 2 now goes down, and QG,
be happening.
They're still pushing forward.
Jin Qiao's finally coming. The arrow's up. Surely there is a potential for a team fight still in Aime's favor without the...
Ooh, the cask is going to separate them, but now that cask is used very early. Daisy makes her way into the back. Trigger Seed is going to pop a good slow. The arrow finds Doinby. Can they kill him in time? They've got so much CC.
No, they
he
can't.
flashes back, and finally they drop him. Kabe is running, and now that Doinby is dead, QG are running for the hills. But guess who's going to charge right after them? It's Amazing J on that Kled. He finds Deceit as Road manages to get a snare onto Kabe. That's another quick kill as the push from QG find themselves tripping and stumbling and finding their way into the graves instead.
I think it's safe to say we all knew that was a bad idea, and even QG knew that was a bad idea, but they made the decision. And in their opinion, stealing the Baron doesn't get them back in this game. It's pushing down one lane, making that desperate play, capitalizing on the fact that there is no AD carry nearby. They've got the pick onto Talia. That's the big wave clear source. But Aime, they get the picks back. That was expected. And now QG are in damage control with nobody nearby. They're still trading.
The top tier 2 is going to fall as Aime are rushing through with so much damage. That Mountain Dragon is doing work. And Alone, he's still got Baron buff all by himself. He's trying to steal the turret, and Clit is down there as well. You shouldn't be base racing when you're down by 5,000 gold, but it's Baron buff for QG. They're just trying to get some gold. The top inhibitor has fallen.
What are you
Finally,
doing?
there's recall from Clit as the True Shot Barrage completely whiffs the minions. The inhibitor drops, and QG, that small crack in the dam has opened up into a full, huge
I don't understand what I'm watching anymore, Dom. I feel like playoffs have just receded into madness in the past 2 minutes. QG have decided that they're not done.
Ultimate. Where's he going?
Nowhere. They're looking for recalls. They've decided that trading 2 turrets is worth an inhibitor. They keep the gold difference at 5,000. They've given themselves a big buffer in the way that they've now at least got money. They've got items. They're scaling. That's good. But they lost the top inhibitor. So now I may only have 2 waves to attack. They only have 2 places to be compared to what it was before. I don't think that trade was worth. QG have decided that it is.
Yeah. I mean, we're finally seeing some huge gold, a minus 300 gold deficit from that Baron, as you can see. But taking a look, it's still 1,300 difference between Jin Qiao and Alone. Doinby's actually up by about 500 or 600 over
Athena. It's mostly top lane now.
Yeah, and that Kled is big.
Yeah, 4-1-4, about to have a Guardian Angel. You'd expect when he has the GA that there's nothing that can kill him anymore. He has it now.
Yeah. And now Doinby, he's got a Zanya's, so he's feeling good with some gold. We've got 2 items on Kabe, plus he's working on a Negatron Cloak. And then we're 1 step closer to the Trinity Force for Alone. He's still a level down behind Jin Qiao, but he can do something at the very least in this next fight.
Yeah, he can, especially after completing the Trinity Force. Blade of the Wrong King should do a lot of work, even under champions like Kled at the moment. There's a lot of strength actually behind the Ezreal. And because the gold difference isn't that great between Jin Qiao and Alone now, he's pretty happy if you're the Ezreal. Kabe's still going to be a tank, so he's happy. But how do you kill the Kled? He has a Guardian Angel, he has an Ivern and a Karma keeping him alive. He's getting back on a skull if you take him off it.
Yeah. Luck? Perhaps?
10% luck.
It's certainly not 20% skill. They're going to need a lot more than 20% if they want to bring down Amazing J. 29 minutes in, Aime are just clearing up the map, maintaining that control as Super Minions continue to rush in. An arrow tags Clit. They've got the Realm Warp, and oh, he makes it out alive as Doinby survives and saves his jungler. Teleport top is actually canceled from Amazing J as I continue to run down the mid lane without the hard engage go button of Clid or the Realm Warp for Doinby. The tier 2 does not stand a chance.
Remember the rules of Rise is that if Rise gets crowd controlled, then the ultimate will be cancelled, so Clid being knocked around by Seismic Shove doesn't change that. As they are still continuing to try and advance their advantage, take down these turrets, utilize the fact that Doinby's not nearby.
Yeah, there goes the Weaver's wall, and now literally with their backs against the wall, QG are falling away as this inhib is broken. Jin Zhao is just shredding through with his Phantom Dancer. Alone eats a huge threat volley, and Jin Zhao targets Doinby. He's rushing in, and that's Amazing J going a little bit too far as QG quickly repositioned, but they're going to lose their second inhibitor here, and with super minions crashing onto the Nexus turrets, it is full damage control.
The repositioning was fine by QG, but Doinby decided that he was going to 1v1 Jin Zhao, which is not going to work as planned, unfortunately, because again, the team composition complements Jin Zhao as the AD carry. He will never die in a 1v1. If he's got the team supporting him. Alone is definitely trolling with the way he used his E in that last fight, and Athena is doing so much work.
Yeah, great Seismic Shove and another threaded volley to chunk Deceit and Doinby away. This is just a regular push. This is without Baron, which is spawning in 6 seconds. Mountain Dragon is up in 12.
Oh, God.
Realm Warp and QG are going to fight. They send
Big
Deceit into the back. He wasn't supposed to be in that one. Kabe is in there, and Jin Zhao is quickly going to finish off the support. But meanwhile, he's not firing at the front line. But neither is Alone. He eats an arrow. That's a quick follow-up. Doinby is doing some damage, but with Alone dead and Doinby running away, Clid tries to save him. But this is the assassination from QG. They try to turn the fight around, but get aced for their efforts. And this is going to be Aime bringing us to game number 5, the ace match.
They take us all the way to the end. Aime are not going to go down without a fight. QG tried to go down fighting, but it's not enough.
And Aime get the chance to breathe easy as they're alive for just a little bit longer. And you can see the disappointed faces from Qiao in that one. They had the advantage. They had the opportunity. But a very early lead from Aime and picking up that first blood and then manipulating that momentum around the map with Jin Zhao's exceptionally strong bottom lane just put Qiao too far behind.
I'll be perfectly honest with you, Dom. That game started off surprisingly poor for QG just based off the level 1, right? These things happen, and they tried to damage control for about 20 minutes. They stole a Baron, and then they just got hungry with power.
Yeah.
They just thought they could win the entire game with that Baron buff. I admire the decision to not just damage control with the Baron buff, to try and trade the objectives, but because one turret goes down inside the base, one inhibitor then falls inside the base, that was it. That was the base broken. That was everything open.
And you've really got to look at the decision-making from Qiao in some of those fights. Yes, some of the desperate, wacky engages worked out for them, but they were just at such a deficit. Look at the damage difference between Alone and Jin Zhao, the AD carries, before taking into account the fact that Athena, despite being camped in the mid lane, still popped off.
Yeah, Athena definitely still did a lot of work. He was able to play really well once he got the ultimates actually going with the rest of his team. His sieging was fantastic, and Aime as a team, when they're actually grouped up as 5, was great. They were a little bit slow to the punch. They took an awful long time to actually ramp up to their point of strength, and it did feel like, you know, their AD carry, Jin Zhao, sat on Blade of the Ruined King for over 3,000 gold before he finally went back and had an item advantage. Like, these small details increase the game time, and by doing that, you give QG opportunities to fight back, use the Rise ultimates, make these plays against you, and that's ultimately the biggest fault that I have right now for Aime. They were far superior in game number 4, or the 3rd game of this series, but they still did not look close to their maximum potential.
Yeah, and we are still looking for them to continue to improve. Now, of course, this is still a win for Aime. They get to take this momentum and move it forward into game number 5, the final deciding factor for which of these two teams will advance. And now with this win, we've seen 2 different strategies from Aime work, though both of them still seem to have the same core components. Put Jin Zhao on Ashe, let him just fire these arrows and look for picks, then put Athena on something self-sufficient that can provide utility in these extra side fights. Is this a strategy that they continue to run in game number 5?
I mean, there's no reason not to if the Ashe is working so successfully. I'm very surprised that QG have come into not just the first game. The first game's fine, but the second and third games respectively, and just didn't touch the Ashe because they're losing the bottom lane. And QG's bottom lane got exposed in this game.
Yeah.
Like 100%. They were not on the same wavelength as the Rise. If Deceit's getting altered into the back, like he's definitely not playing it out the way that he should be at the moment. Everything that I am seeing from QG's 2v2 has lost them these games that they have actually gone down in.
Yeah, and it really does speak to Alone and Deceit. Perhaps we get the chance to see Cloud come in for game number 5, the ace match.
I'd like to think so, but IMA are already banning Thresh just in
Yeah,
case.
I know.
It seems like from the grave, Cloud is a little bit disappointed that Thresh is being banned anyway. So
Yeah.
IMA definitely pick bans ready. They shouldn't see Cloud, but maybe there's a mentality reason that we would see the Cloud come in. I mean, again, he's a fantastic mechanical player. He's the experienced player on the team. It's a game 5 in his best of series. A mental reset for the entire team with a new support coming in is definitely a valid idea for them. But at the moment, it's all about stopping what IMA are doing successfully to get these victories. Having the control mage mid, having the Ashe to engage, giving Amazing J Kled, giving them first blood in the game. Like, all of these things can 100% be fixed and actually looked at.
And now it really creates this interesting dichotomy for Qiao, because as we've seen their pick and ban sort of evolve, they had to start banning away the Zillion because they saw how it enabled Jin Zhao. They have had to constantly ban Kog'Maw. If he's this much of a terror on Ashe, you can't let him on that. That means you have 1/3 final ban. They used it on Nautilus in game number 3 in this set, but that just meant that Kled goes through. If you ban Kled, then that just means that something else goes through. So it really is tricky. Jin Zhao is going to get the MVP in this set, 3-0 and 10. And he's just doing so much work for his team. This is Jin Zhao that could help carry his team through playoffs.
Yeah, look, frankly, a very deserving MVP. You have to give him credit where it's due. The whole team of IMA looked a lot better in this one, though. The biggest weak point that you'd say was probably Athena getting caught out of position. But this is one of those moments where QG, you know, they pick up a Baron, they get momentum, they get a little bit too hungry for it. Doing B pretty much just dies for his troubles. And you know what? For what it's worth, Ben 4 did look good on the Ivern also. They played this incredibly well as a team. And Jin Zhao, your MVP. Look at him. No one's going to touch that guy when he's got everybody to protect him throughout all of this. Moments like this, you wonder what QG's shot calling can really be.
Yeah, it was very chaotic in that previous game, and it was so close to almost turning around and becoming an advantage in that fight. If they had dodged the arrow, perhaps avoided that engage, they could have backed away unscathed and just taken their Baron buff and their advantage and been happy. But the turnaround from IMA and then the answer back to take an inhibitor just shows that IMA are playing up to push back against Qiao. And with this sort of pressure, it's going to be tough.
I mean, both teams are playing up, but both teams are playing down occasionally. It really is just about who shows up in the last game.
Yeah, well, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break while we get ready for our final game of the evening, the final decider between Qiao and IMA.